Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I had a great Christmas, but I'm back now, I think. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, I'm also having to still handhold my mic because of technical issues on this end, so I apologize if there is any problem with the sound on that, but I'll try to keep it to the minimum. Anyway, today we're going to talk a little bit about Paul Pelosi. Now, I know some of you think nothing's been happening because all you see is what's on the news. Well, there are things happening that are not on the news that are very interesting and are all playing into what's happening. So, here we go. I wanted to start with this tweet by Patrick Howley, and he is an American journalist and does a lot of things. He's a citizen journalist, so he has several things that we're going to talk about, and he's got a really great article on this. Breaking: the reason Paul Pelosi Jr. was in Ukraine in 2017 was for his business dealings with Asa St. Clair, an accused diamond smuggler who the DOJ just charged with wire fraud, facing 20 years. I have all the evidence. This is massive. More to come. Okay, and here's the article. This came out on December 23rd, by the way. And here is the article on National File. All of these links will be down below, just like usual. And he has a really good article here that ties him to this Asa St. Clair, who was just indicted. And I'll show you the indictment in just a minute. So, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's son, Paul Pelosi Jr., visited Ukraine in 2017 to meet with government officials in connection to a business initiative. Now, National File has learned from overseas that Pelosi Jr. was in Ukraine representing his business efforts with Asa St. Clair, a close Pelosi friend and self-identified business associate, who has been charged by the Department of Justice for wire fraud. Asa St. Clair is under house arrest, facing 20 years in prison. Video evidence proves that Pelosi Jr. was in Ukraine representing his corporate governance initiative, CGI. I think it's kind of funny that the letters are CGI. If you know anything about animation, I just think that's kind of interesting that that's what it spells. And promoting his endorsement from the World Sports Alliance, which shared leadership staff with Pelosi Jr.'s company, CGI. The World Sports Alliance was Asa St. Clair's front group that is accused of running a criminal cryptocurrency scam known as IGOBit. I don't know if it's IGOBit or IGOBit or whatever. I'm going to call it IGOBit. As well as international mining operations, including in the diamond-rich, war-torn Central African Republic. And this is a worldwide scam, folks. It really is. Paul Pelosi Jr. traveled to Kiev, Ukraine, or Kyiv, whichever it is. I don't know. The people that work there seem to say Kyiv, but I always learned Kiev, so we'll just go with whatever comes out of my mouth at the time. Ukraine in July 2017 in his capacity as executive director of the Corporate Governance Initiative, a position that he accepted months earlier in February 2017. Pelosi Jr. said that he was in Ukraine to discuss a youth soccer partnership with the government, then led by former Ukraine President Petro Poroshenko. Yep, that was the really corrupt guy. That was before Zelensky, the guy now. The American Mirror, which flagged Pelosi Jr.'s appearance in 2017, preserved a clip of Pelosi Jr. on the Ukrainian station following the video's removal from YouTube. And so here was the tweet that they had. What's really going on here? Nancy Pelosi's son in Ukraine to talk about soccer. And so here is the clip.
Hello, I'm Alex Gupta with UATV. Today I'm speaking with Paul Pelosi Jr. He is a San Francisco-based investor and corporate finance expert, and also happens to be the son of Nancy Pelosi, the minority leader of the United States House of Representatives. Hello, Mr. Pelosi. Welcome to UATV.
Thank you, Alex. A pleasure to be here.
What brings you to Kiev?
Kiev's a wonderful time of year. I'm here with the Corporate Governance Initiative, and today we're here to talk about soccer. We recently got an endorsement from the World Sports Alliance, and we've spoken with the Ukraine government about collaboration for soccer for young people. Ukraine's got a great history in soccer, and we hope to share in that tradition going forward.
So you have a corporate governance business, and you're here in Ukraine speaking with representatives from the government, investment bankers, discussing certain things related to the soccer.
Exactly. Well, with the Corporate Governance Initiative, what we do is we work with people to kind of bring people together, a spirit of cooperation. And sometimes religion and politics can get tricky, but sports is an area where people seem to have a good, competitive, healthy relationship. And so it's a pleasure to be here and to meet with the people of Ukraine and to meet the young kids that are very enthusiastic about their athletic futures.
What are your thoughts? This is your first visit to Ukraine, I imagine?
Yes, this is my first visit here with the Corporate Governance Initiative.
What is your thoughts? What are your impressions of Ukraine?
Well, Kiev is a wonderful town. It's deep in history. They tell me it's 500 years older than Moscow, and there's a great pride with the people, very smart people. And you get a sense of optimism in the street after 2 years of conflict that you read about in the papers, and after you read about all this currency issues, it seems you have a sense of calm and a sense of optimism that was quite refreshing, that you may not have gotten.
Yeah, so Pelosi Jr. let slip that he was working in Ukraine with a group called the World Sports Alliance. Today we're here to talk about soccer, Paul Pelosi said, and you heard that. And so it has all of that information right there. So we know for sure he was working with World Sports Alliance, which is now the heart of that entire indictment. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. So, the World Sports Alliance is a front group run by Paul Pelosi Jr.'s good friend, Asa St. Clair, who served as president of the alliance. And Asa St. Clair now faces 20 years in prison for allegedly running a fraudulent cryptocurrency scheme through the World Sports Alliance. Records reveal that Pelosi Jr. and Asa St. Clair were directly working with one another during the period of St. Clair's alleged criminality. Yeah. There he is. Asa St. Clair announced his endorsement of Paul Pelosi Jr.'s corporate governance initiative several months before Pelosi Jr.'s Ukraine trip. A press release dated December 27, 2016, announced St. Clair's endorsement of Pelosi Jr.'s company, stating, when asked how he became aware of it, he went on to say, Paul Pelosi Jr. is a longtime associate, both business and personal. And when I saw him taking a stance on something my organization deems to be a cornerstone of our prosperity, I reached out to him to learn more. The cornerstone of their prosperity, yeah, is doing all these, fraud things. So anyway, I wanted to show you that and then make some more connections here in this article. As always, it'll be down below, and here's the press release itself if you want to read that. And then the links don't stop there. The citizen researcher, who can be followed on Twitter at Defeat the Elites, provided assistance for this report. And so you go on, this R. Rashad L.V. Patrick, the official global communications manager at the World Sports Alliance and member of Asa St. Clair's team for the cryptocurrency project IGOBIT, served as the president of Paul Pelosi Jr.'s corporate governance initiative, according to a deleted Our Team page on the CGI website. So there's a screenshot of the page, and you can see that guy clearly. He was listed as president, and then you have executive director, and then you have communications director. This lays it all down. Here is the archived evidence that they were involved in this. So you've got all this information right here. Everything you need. Right there's the guy. Right there. And so now Asa St. Clair is under house arrest and facing hard time. The Department of Justice announced charges against Asa St. Clair on November 6, 2019. Now, I'll get to that in a minute because that's on the indictment and the DOJ website. But the World Sports Alliance was not merely involved in cryptocurrency, it was principally interested in minerals around the world. WikiLeaks published documents directly implicating the World Sports Alliance in a global mining scheme. And so you have that information here. The World Sports Alliance, how the UN was indirectly implicated in a mining corruption scheme. These documents show the schemes used by a fake international organization supported by the UN and numerous states in order to corrupt local elites and steal the natural resources of impoverished states and their populations. And so there's a link to that. There's a lot of links to the other articles that are there. So very interesting. That's the leak to that particular document dump. And so, yeah, on Steemit, this at Deliberator listed 10 documents dumped by WikiLeaks which pertain to the World Sports Alliance mining work in the Central African Republic. You go through and you look at this, and there's just more and more coming out about it. So, from gold to diamonds and everything in between, this organization has its sticky little fingers in all the pies. Also, they have nothing to do with sports. Sure, maybe they put the odd bit of grass down on the floor and maybe some goalposts and call it a football pitch. They say they do anyway. I found zero evidence of that, though, and I found plenty of evidence, factual in paper form, showing they are corrupt, deceitful, and damaging Africa and other places by leaving behind their poisons, their toxins, their radiation, and polluted water with not a care in the world via bribing other government officials. And so it goes on down here. But I wanted to point this out to you. This is not just one thing. This is several things that they have their hands in, folks. And again, a lot of these are linked. Like this one right here. If you take this, you can get that. You can get the link here. Just several of them. Anyway, very interesting to see what some of these links come up with. That wasn't Pelosi Jr.'s only business link to Ukraine, where his mother, Nancy Pelosi, appeared in a Happy Independence Day video for Ukraine in 2015. Nancy Pelosi led a congressional delegation to Ukraine in 2015 to discuss issues including energy security. We're going to talk about the energy security in just a second, too. But anyway, so this is more that you have. This guy did such a great job with this article. Go through and read it. It is so detailed. All the evidence is right here. And here, my name's Paul Pelosi. Of course, I'm on the board of Viscoil, and Viscoil is here today to talk about accelerating the future. It's about using cars in a more efficient manner. It's about utilizing natural resources, whether it be electricity or gas or fossil fuels, in a more efficient way. And Viscoil is a part of that solution. Yeah. So Pelosi's have their hands all over Ukraine, folks. All over Ukraine. So I suggest you read this article, watch these videos and everything. There's just too much in here for me to cover and everything. I just think you need to go through this whole article and see how Paul Pelosi is involved with Ukraine. And so is Nancy. They're all part of this. So anyway, I'll leave the link to that down below. You can read the whole thing. And of course, here is the link that has that video in it. Now, this was the whole video that was originally posted on YouTube, but of course, it's unavailable because it's private now. But down here, you can see, if you click on this, you'll see the clip that I just showed you. So anyway, and then here is the link to the page that has the connection where they put out this press release about them. That the CEO, this is the Asa St. Clair, is formerly endorsing the corporate governance initiative. So, yeah, it is a very strong connection, which makes this more important. This was on the DOJ website November 6th of this year. President of purported intergovernmental organization indicted for cryptocurrency scheme. Okay, now remember the timeline. This is exactly when Paul Pelosi was involved with this guy, and this guy was endorsing that organization. Look at this. It was a sealed indictment. It was unsealed. I don't know where it says it was unsealed, but it was sealed indictment. Today announced charges against Asa St. Clair for his participation in an investment scheme tied to a purported digital coin offering called IGOBIT. St. Clair allegedly participated in a scheme to defraud victims into providing loans tied to the launch of IGOBIT, by World Sports Alliance, a purported intergovernmental organization focused on promoting international development through sports, and falsely promised investors guaranteed returns and an ownership interest in IGOBIT. Yeah, right. Okay. Manhattan U.S. Attorney Jeffrey S. Berman said, As alleged, Asa St. Clair used World Sports Alliance, a sham affiliate of the United Nations, as a vehicle to defraud lenders. St. Clair allegedly defrauded investors in Igobit, a digital currency he claimed WSA was developing, but which turned out to be the fraudulent bait with which to lure victim investors. What's real is the felony charge St. Clair now faces. Okay, and this was the special agent in charge, Fitzhugh, said St. Clair allegedly touted his company as promoting the values of sports and peace for a better world, yet defrauded all those who invested in his sham company. As alleged, St. Clair used the money he earned through deceit to fund a lavish lifestyle for him and his family. Through the HSI New York El Dorado Task Force and its strong partnerships, St. Clair will face time for his actions, and it won't be in the luxury or comfort he has grown accustomed to. So essentially, the indictment is calling for a wire fraud. That's really what the major one is. And here's the actual indictment. So you can look at that if you want to. It's 5 pages long, so it's not real long. But essentially, it just says that he was the head of this, and, of course, the other names also known as, but he was the president of World Sports Alliance, an entity St. Clair falsely represented to be engaged in a digital coin offering of a purported blockchain-based digital token referred to as Igobit. And then it lists the dates here from November 2017 to September 2019. And that's exactly the dates that all that was going on with Pelosi Jr., so Paul Pelosi. And so, yeah, it was wire fraud is what they're claiming here. That's the allegation. And here's all the codes and everything. So as the result of committing the offense alleged in count 1 of this indictment, which was the wire fraud, look at this. The defendant shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to this title any and all property, real and personal, that constitutes or is derived from proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense. So, in other words, anything that he profited from doing that is going to be taken from him, confiscated. And it says, including but not limited to a sum of money in United States currency representing the amount of proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense. Now, of course, if any of the forfeitable property described above as a result of any act or omission of Asa St. Clair, the defendant cannot be located or has been transferred or has been placed under the jurisdiction of the court, anyway, has been substantially diminished in value, has been commingled with other property. It is the intent of the United States pursuant to Title 21 United States Code, Section 853P and Title 28, to seek forfeiture of any other property of said defendant up to the value of the above forfeitable property. So this guy is really going to get soaked for it. Now, remember, this is one hop away from Nancy Pelosi's son. So the next step is, how much did he have going on? Now, this was a sealed indictment that was just recently unsealed. So, folks, when we're talking about all those sealed indictments, they're trickling out. Some of them are already in things like this, but we just haven't seen them because you didn't hear this one on the news, did you? No, not at all. And then I wanted to show you this one too, because this is kind of continuing on. This is the same guy, Howley reporter, that broke the other one. The Russian-owned company Paul Pelosi was a board member of appears to be directly connected to Russian government. The Anna Shell company, Softan Pte. Ltd., has the exact same office number as Gazprom, the state-owned Russian oil and gas company. And here are the documents that show that. And that came out on December 21st. That was one. All right, I want to show you something really interesting here, that this Loretta Stiles, she was a person who responded to it, and she said, wow, and why is there such a push for alternative energy and the Green New Deal when the U.S. has top fossil fuel energy? Has Nan et al. Used their power through or over other representatives even to get legislation that helps foreign green alternative energy at odds with American interests. And I said, well, here's the deal, guys. They're pushing this big Green New Deal type stuff for alternative energy because using alternative energy puts us at a disadvantage in the United States. If we transfer over to this alternative energy, look at the problems that they have with it. First of all, a lot of the solar companies that Obama funded, they didn't work out. They all crashed and burned. There's just a lot of issues with it right now. And it keeps it from being practical at this point. I'm not saying that having, an energy efficient car that uses battery or whatever, it's not bad, but it's not reliable. I saw one today that was advertised, it can go 300 miles on a charge. Okay, that means that the furthest you can go without using gasoline is going to be 300 miles. Well, 300 miles doesn't take you very far. And then you have to recharge it. How long does it take to recharge? You got to worry about that too. And so here's the situation. These people who are making laws, our legislators, are making these laws that restrict what we can do, and it reduces our power because we can't compete with the places that are using these fossil fuels. It also is very interesting that almost all of these people that are really pushing for it, it seems like a lot of their kids are involved in these fossil fuel organizations outside of the United States. So, is it really possible that they're using their positions to reduce our competitiveness here in the United States, or at least reduce our ability to be competitive so that these companies that are paying their kids are going to flourish? So I'm not saying that's what's happening, but it's kind of starting to look like it, isn't it? So anyway, I'll put all the links to these down below and you can check them out for yourselves. It's just been crazy. And just on a personal side, I've got a little plastic piece on my microphone that holds it to the arm, the boom, or the stand, if I put it on the desktop stand. And the little plastic piece, the Gorilla Glue, did not work. So I think I'm going to try an epoxy the next round and see if that'll work and hold it together, because right now it's just very inconvenient for me to actually have to hold it for very long, and it distracts me and I can't, keep going what I'm doing. And you don't know, but when I talk with my hands. So my hands have to move, and it's really hard when my hand has to stay still so the microphone doesn't move. Anyway, so that's it. I had a great time with my family, got all the gifts done. Oh boy, some 60, I think it probably had close to 70 gifts, because we had some we have a few that came that were, not quite in-laws, but they probably will be in the next year or so. So, I've got we have just that age range where they're starting to pair up and get married and have kids. And so, yeah. And those are my nieces and nephews' kids. So my great nephews and great nieces. Anyway, so yeah, we had a lot of fun. Great time. My mom got to be there and she did really well. I hope that it wasn't too much for her, but I'm very glad that she was there. I hope we have more Christmases with her, but I'm kind of dubious about that right now. She hasn't been doing well this past year. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.